Revive my heart, renew my soul. In you, oh Lord, I am made whole. No more in fear will I wander, 'cause you're my God, my Lord and lover. Like a burning fire, be my one desire. I wanna be holy just like you. I wanna go where you lead me to, with reckless abandon to your truth. I wanna fall deeper in love with you. Lift me up, God my Father. In all this world there is no other. I'm dancing in your holy presence, and your glory fills all my senses. Like a burning fire, be my one desire. I wanna be holy just like you. I wanna go where you with reckless abandon to your truth. I wanna fall deeper in love with you.
Your free will is a power that you have. The political freedom is a gift that our country has given us. But I want to talk about what really makes us free as persons. There's one view of freedom that we see in our culture a lot, and we can call it the secular view of freedom. And that is that to be free means to do what you want. It's kind of like, you know, the hippie mentality. Do what feels good, do what you like, don't let anyone tell you what you should or should not be doing. Secular freedom is a false type of freedom because there exists something called the natural law. Because we have rational souls, we have this unique law that governs us. And one thing that's also a little unique about it is that we have the option, we have the choice whether or not we want to obey that law. You know, you can't choose whether or not you want to obey physical or biological laws, but you have the choice of disobeying or obeying the natural law. And so what is the natural law? It's basically, we can describe it as this common understanding that we all have. We're all born with a common understanding of what is right, what is wrong, what you could say what is fair, what is just. And we're all born with that. We're all born with understanding that there's a standard that we all have to adhere to. So we don't always know the details of exactly what's right and what's wrong, but you know, and we don't always follow the details correctly of what's right and what's wrong. But the natural law is still there. You know, we always have our conscience weighing on us when we don't do the right thing. And but the natural law is always there. That God has given us, written on our hearts, telling us how we're supposed to act and how we're not supposed to act. And just like biological laws and the laws of physics, if you ignore the natural law, it ends up being very harmful to you, right? So if one of us were to climb on top of the roof and jump off the roof, we'd be ignoring laws of gravity. We'd be ignoring the fact that there's this law of gravity, and that we know that we're probably going to break our leg or our neck and maybe die. And so if you ignore these laws, right, it's not good for you. And it's the same thing. If you ignore the law of nature, the natural law, and if you choose to disobey it, it's very harmful for you. And that's basically what sin is. You know, doing the wrong thing when you know what the right thing is. And you become slaves to it. This is how it's very harmful. Freedom ends up being kind of a paradox. Paradox means something that looks like it's contrary, looks like it's opposite of what's true, but it actually is true. It becomes a paradox because whoever decides to always do the right thing, whoever binds his will to what is good and what is truthful, and only does those things, they end up being truly free. And so it's a paradox because you're actually limiting your options, right? And you see, it sounds like at first you're less free because you're saying, I'll always do the right thing. I'll always do God's will in my life. You're saying, well, aren't you becoming like a slave to God? But no. Right? Because what God has willed for us, what He's put on our hearts in the natural law, is always what's best for us. So always doing that is actually what frees you. So there's kind of a paradox there. And so this type of freedom, this binding your will to the good, always doing what's good for you, is what Pope John Paul II called authentic freedom. It's not the kind of freedom that the culture promotes on TV and on the radio. So, and this type of freedom, he says, is what really leads us to be happy. This is where we're really happy. It's because if we're not free, if we're doing whatever feels good, and just going down sinful paths, we end up becoming slaves. And Christ came to free us from that slavery. He says the truth shall set you free. The truth about what you're made for, that natural law, that truth that's written inside your hearts, that sets you free when you follow it.